maybe 8 million. If that's
$8 million.
Ooh.
Joe Biden had 8 million reasons to break the rules.
Yeah, he did.
Took classified information and shared it with the guy who was writing the book. That's why he did. He knew the rules, but he broke them for $8 million in a book advance.
So if you watched Special Counsel Robert Hur's testimony to the House Judiciary Committee, you saw that most of it was just a clown show. A lot of it was boring. For the most part, there was grandstanding and a lot of unimportant stuff. But I do want to show you guys this clip of Jim Jordan because he summarizes the situation perfectly as far as I can tell.
Yields back, the chair is recognized. Mr. Hur, why did he do it? Why did Joe Biden, in your words, willfully retain and disclose classified materials? I mean, he knew the law. Been in office like 50 years. 5 decades in the United States Senate, chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, 8 years as vice president. He got briefed every day as vice president. He's been in the Situation Room. In fact, you know he knew the rules because you said so on page 226. President Biden was deeply familiar with the measures taken to safeguard classified documents. And Joe Biden told us he knew the rules. Mr. Armstrong said this earlier. Joe Biden was deeply familiar with it. You're exactly right, because he told us when Jack Smith goes after President Trump, Joe Biden says, how could this happen? What data was in those documents that could compromise sources and methods? It's irresponsible. So Joe Biden knew the rules. You know he knew the rules. And Joe Biden told us he knew the rules. So, Mr. Hur, why did he break them?
Congressman, the conclusion as to exactly why the president did what he did is not one that we explicitly address in the report. The report explains my decision to the Attorney General that no criminal charges were warranted in this manner.
I think you did tell us. I think you told us, Mr. Hur. Page 231, you said this. President Biden had strong motivations. That's a key word. We're getting to motive now. President Biden had strong motivations to ignore the proper procedures for safeguarding the classified information in his notebooks. Why did he have strong motivations? Because, next word, because he decided months before leaving office to write a book. To write a book. That was his motive. He knew the rules. He broke them because he was writing a book. And you further say, and he began meeting with the ghostwriter while he was still vice president. There's the motive. Mr. Hur, how much did President Biden get paid for his book?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure if that information appears in the report.
It sure does. There's a dollar amount in there. You remember?
I don't. It may be 8 million. If that's
$8 million.
Ooh.
Joe Biden had 8 million reasons to break the rules.
Yeah, he did.
Took classified information and shared it with the guy who was writing the book. That's why he did. He knew the rules, but he broke them for $8 million in a book advance. But you know what? It wasn't just the money. Joe Biden, here's this page 231, very next page. Joe Biden, in your report, Joe Biden viewed his notebooks as an irreplaceable, contemporaneous record of the most important moments of his vice presidency. He'd written this all down for the book, for the $8 million. And the next thing you say in your report is, quote, such a record would buttress his legacy as a world leader.
Ah, pride.
You know what this is? It wasn't just the money. It wasn't just $8 million. It was also his ego. Pride and money is why he knowingly violated the rules. The oldest motives in the book, pride and money. You agree with that, Mr. Hur? You wrote it in your report.
That language, and it does appear in the report, and we did identify evidence supporting those assessments.
You also had another interesting statement in your report. You said Joe Biden, I want to make sure I get this right, viewed himself as a man of presidential timber. Remember that statement, Mr. Hur?
I believe that does appear in the report, at least in the executive summary.
I think this is interesting, because here's the scary part. Page 200. I said this earlier in my opening statement. Page 200, Joe Biden, this is a quote, Joe Biden risked serious damage to America's national security when he shared information with his ghostwriter. Shared it with his ghostwriter, the guy who was helping Joe Biden get $8 million. And oh, by the way, Mr. Hur, what did that ghostwriter do with the information Joe Biden shared with him on his laptop? What did he do after you were named special counsel?
Chairman, if you're referring to the audio recordings
He deleted it.
Mr. Zwanitzer created of his conversations with
Exactly
Mr.
what
Biden,
I'm referring to.
he slid, if I remember correctly, he slid those files into his recycle bin on his computer.
Tried to destroy
Delete.
the evidence, didn't he?
Correct.
The very guy who was helping Joe Biden get the $8 million, Joe Biden had used the motive for Joe Biden to disclose classified information, to retain classified information, which he definitely knew was against the law. When you get named special counsel, what's that guy do? He destroys the evidence. That's the key takeaway in my mind. That's the key takeaway. I yield back.
I just thought that breakdown and that line of questioning by Jim Jordan was very succinct and summarizes the situation pretty completely. If you've looked through the report, as I have, it's very boring, very long, but he pulled out of it, I think, what's important. Joe Biden risked compromising our national security for a payoff, a multi-million-dollar payoff. He needed that $8 million, and he was willing to break the rules that he was completely aware of, as Jim Jordan alludes to, 50 years in office, senator, vice president, etc. He knew, and even furthermore, he called out Trump specifically for why Trump shouldn't have had documents, so he was well aware of what he was doing, and he did it for money. And on top of that, he did it for his ego and for pride, etc., as is outlined in the report. That's all irrefutable. And then the ghostwriter, upon finding out about special counsel looking into this, tries to delete the evidence. So that's clear knowledge of wrongdoing. And nobody's getting charged with anything here because Joe Biden is too old, too senile, incapable of standing trial because his memory is compromised, and we're, quote, not sure if he was aware of what he was doing, at least because he's not aware now. Now, contrast Jim Jordan's line of questioning with this next clip that I'm going to show you. This is Eric Swalwell, who infamously has been in a relationship with a Chinese spy, but I want to contrast these because there was a very different line of questioning between the left and the right in this hearing. The right seemed to just stick to what was in the report. What are the reasons for why you think he can't stand trial or you don't want to charge him? Democrats basically deflected the whole time and brought up Donald Trump constantly, over and over and over again, despite the fact that this is a hearing about Joe Biden and his corruption. They wanted to play whataboutism, and Eric Swalwell is a perfect example of that. So I'm going to show you guys what he said.
You want your report to be received with credibility, is that right?
My goal was to provide a thorough explanation of my decision to the Attorney General as I was required to do. And as I said in my opening statement, I felt that I needed to show my work.
And you want to be received as credible, right?
That would be helpful and laudable, yes.
Well, a lot has changed since 2018 for the person who appointed you, former President Trump. Since you were appointed,
Here we go.
He was impeached for leveraging 350 million U.S. taxpayer dollars over Ukraine to get dirt on President Biden. He was then impeached a second time for inciting an insurrection. He was charged for possessing classified documents and obstructing justice. He was charged for paying for the silence of a porn star. He was charged in Georgia for his role in January 6th. He was charged in the District of Columbia for his role in January 6th. He owes $400 million to the state of New York for defrauding the state through his taxes, and he has been judged a rapist.
And none of this is relevant whatsoever to this hearing about Joe Biden.
You want to be perceived, understandably, as credible, and so I want to first see if you will pledge to not accept an appointment from Donald Trump if he is elected again as president.
Congressman, I'm not here to testify
Seems like an
today
easy
about
answer,
what will happen in the future.
considering what I just laid out.
I'm here to talk about the report and the work that went into it. And
But you don't want to be associated with that guy again, do you?
Congressman, I'm not here to offer any opinions about what may or may not happen in the future. I'm here to talk about the work that went into the report, which I stand by.
It's just so crazy that this is a hearing about Joe Biden and Democrats still are obsessed over Donald Trump. Donald Trump is their oxygen. Donald Trump keeps them going. Everything they talk about is Trump, Trump, Trump. Let me know what you guys think. I just wanted to show both of these clips because they give you a good indication of just how serious this Biden case is and what he did, which was put American national security at risk for a payoff of $8 million knowingly, and what Democrats wanted to ask about or pontificate about, which is Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Trump bad, Orange Man bad. Incredible. Let me know your thoughts, and as always, please subscribe to the channel. It means the world.